See no evil. So I can already tell this is going to be a splendid video where I upset no one. Because when I was ranking TV shows and I put Owl House lower than an S tier,
I was told to burn myself alive.
So naturally the next step into getting people to not be upset with me is to talk about religion.
You're videotaping the show. I do.
Butt lovers. I went down the worst internet rabbit hole, all because of Scamilton. You know that illegal Hamilton production that was put up by a church?
What is a legacy? It's knowing you repented and accepted the gospel of Jesus Christ.
So on Twitter, I found out that they actually did a religious production of Despicable Me as well.
Jesus, Lord, I pray that you help me. Help me to defeat evil. Help me to defeat Vector.
That was amazing. So I was trying to look for the full production of that, but what I found instead was a YouTube video unseen by most. It has 14 views, so I feel bad putting this old guy on blast. I'm only gonna show the PowerPoint presentation he was playing and like a bit of his voice. Just picture like the most generic old guy you can possibly think of. Like think of Joe Biden. Great, Athena, now you're talking about politics, but while I'm on the subject, this is something that's very funny to me about people on the far, far right, is they treat Joe Biden like the farthest left a person can possibly be. Like he's so different than them. Meanwhile, he looks like most of them. Rewind. Let's get back on track. So anyway, this guy did a whole sermon on Despicable Me. Let's look at this first slide and hear what he has to say.
Despicable Me. It's a movie. Don't know if you've seen it or not.
Already, it's hilarious. I love that it says part 11 on the slide. Like he's just been talking about this for hours and all the churchgoers are like, oh my God, when are we getting to God?
It was originally called Evil Me, but that was too ominous for a cartoon. Cost $69 million to produce.
$69 million? No coincidence that it's the number. Is he about to dismantle capitalism right before our eyes?
And the movies are about a super villain who discovers how good it feels to be bad.
That's not at all what it's about. He's never seen the movie. It's the opposite. He has a redemption arc. He adopts the girls. Spoiler alert. Oh my God, I just ruined the movie for all of you.
The Despicable Me 3 website says this: is it good to be good or better to be bad? Being good has its purpose, but sometimes it's good to be bad. Interesting.
You shitty bitch.
Interesting.
So he doesn't like that the marketing campaign is alluding to the fact that it's good to be bad. It gets these, these troublemaking kids to watch the movie, and then they actually see that it's cool to be good. A little bait and switch, all right? It's doing a better job of keeping kids on the straight and narrow than this lecture of sorts. I bet he can't even name the three girls' names. Unlike the Scamilton church that absolutely killed it.
I ask that you overshadow Margot, Edith, and Agnes.
We become accustomed to a despicable world, so now it takes an awful lot to shock us. You might have watched a TV series that ended a couple years ago, House.
Right. And it's the same thing. House Despicable Me crossover. When is that gonna come out? So this leads me into what this video is gonna be about. It's sermons and or religious people trying to stray people away from certain media that they've clearly never watched before. You know what was interesting? As I was trying to find the strangest sermons, I found this one guy that was doing a sermon on Naked and Afraid. And he said, listen, I've never watched this before. I'm just doing like a play off of the words. And that I respect more, because he's like, I'm not even gonna lie, I can't tell you if I approve or disapprove of this series or if I would recommend it or not. I don't know. I'm sure he said something along the lines of,
we all come into this world naked and afraid.
And that's why there's so many sermons on Naked and Afraid. Dude, some of these next slides are the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. So we're gonna continue watching and then we'll move on to the next person. This iceberg kills me. The surface is websites everyone uses, like Wikipedia, Google, and Bing. Bing, bitch? This man hasn't used the internet since the 1970s. Deep web, which implies that it's like harder to get to and a little bit more sinister. Academic information, medical records, legal documents, scientific reports.
Not science!
Subscription information, multilingual databases.
English is the only God-approved language. Sorry, if you want to be multilingual, you gotta go to the deep web.
I also love this iceberg because it implies that this man has never went below the surface web. Because deep web implies something bad, I imagine. He's just sitting there on Google and typing things in, but he'll never press search. Searching for answers outside of God? No thanks.
94.97% of the internet is hidden. It's inaccessible without certain knowledge in computer programs.
One of his grandkids just show him how to click search. What else is wonderful about this is, weren't we talking about Despicable Me? So this is where he completely abandons Despicable Me and media altogether and just goes proverb after proverb after proverb. He might as well just be reading directly from the Bible at this point. But then we have slides like this that break up him reading the Bible, and it's genuinely the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Moving on to the next story, this one is the only one that's not about media, but it's about something even more interesting. This preacher goes off on somebody that accidentally fell asleep during church. Sleeping is a sin, but only when certain people are talking. So this preacher actually blackmailed the person that was sleeping and announced one of their confessions to the entire church. Madman! Let's react to it together. This is bullshit, sorry. This is just an ad, but fuck Burger King's new chicken sandwich. I'm actually so upset about it. Don't mind me.
When a member of the church fell asleep during a recent sermon, the Sunday service turned Sunday surly.
Ha! I love when news reporters get to pop off like that, and you can always hear they're so proud. What do you say? Sunday service turned Sunday surly? Damn it, why did I come up with that? Probably because I don't know what surly means.
Don't you lay your head back. I'm important.
Seems like a bit of pride there. Seems like a wee bit of pride. The headline reads Sunday Smackdown, which sounds like it's like a WWE headline.
Now entering the ring, Brother Paul!
And you're about to get Brother Mauled!
Proceeded to berate his churchgoers. First, a couple who had considered getting married there.
What makes you think I'd marry you? You're one of the sorriest church members I have. You're not worth 15 cents.
He then apologized.
Stand up, big boy. Do you know I love you?
He goes, stand up, big boy. And he goes, I love you. Aww. It sounded like he was about to throw fists. Monk, more like you got punked.
The sermon from Standridge continued as he reminded one church member of family problems.
You remember when I came here, Kelly? You remember where your wife was? Where your sisters were?
The definition of extortion is the practice of obtaining something, especially money, through force or threats. I would say he was extorting them for like respect and attention. Attention? Dude, just start a YouTube channel. It's so much easier. Can you imagine if I knew who every single disliker was and I was able to bring up some trauma from them? I wouldn't. But extortion isn't a sin, even though it's right there in the name. Sin. But falling asleep in churches, and so is turning red? So you know when I said this to the other pastor no more than a few seconds ago? Dude, just start a YouTube channel. Well, turns out there are a lot of online preachers. This one is a Christian dad's review of the movie Turning Red, which I just feel like there are bigger issues out there than you personally not liking a movie.
And I'm here today to review a movie about rebelling against your parents, embracing witchcraft, and doing whatever you want to do with your life despite all warnings of common sense and wholesomeness. Basically what I'm trying to say is we're going to review a new Disney movie.
While I disagree with him, that was such an engaging hook, I must say. He got right to the point. The point is duller than a sewing needle and holds no actual weight, but he got to it.
Isn't this like the plot of every single Disney movie out there? Your parents say don't do it, but I'm going to do it, and somehow there's a witch, and somehow, you know, there's cute devils everywhere.
So is the problem the fact that there are demons, or the fact that you find them cute, which keep that to yourself? He brings up the redundancy of Disney storylines, which would actually be a great video essay if you didn't have to bring Christianity into it. You're niching down your market too much. I'm speaking to you YouTuber to YouTuber. Clearly we're doing the same thing here. It's funny that you bring that up like it's an issue of creativity while trying to limit what they can do with their stories. I'm gonna address your issue with all Disney movies being the same, and I'm also going to address the clip that you brought up in the beginning for some reason. For reference, this is the clip he plays.
Stop moving like that! Is this bothering you?
I'd love to see if you had a review of Finding Nemo, because Nemo also disobeys his father, touches a boat, calls it a butt, which apparently you have a problem with just like the mere existence of butts and shaking them, even though that's how everyone dances. This guy wants Footloose to be real. He wants to outlaw shaking ass. Kick off your Sunday shoes? How disrespectful. Keep them on, and in fact, don't move at all. Moving's a sin.
Before we get into the movie, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below, and
no thanks.
God gave me the power of free will, and I will not be subscribing.
But you know what? He's doing the YouTuber thing. I might as well do the YouTuber thing. If you want to watch more unholy movies with me, while partaking in a little alcohol as well, I have this series called Watching Blank Drunk, and if you're interested in that, and are probably the exact opposite demographic of this guy's, hit that subscribe button.
Honoring your parents sounds great, but if you take it too far, well, you might forget to honor yourself.
Now, anybody who knows anything about the Bible knows that Exodus chapter 20, verse number 12 says, honor thy father and thy mother.
Dude, you should exit. The freaking disobedience that he mentions hasn't even happened yet. This dude would not be able to handle a teenager. Rephrase. This dude would not be able to handle a teenage daughter.
And so we know that is one of the 10 Commandments, which is like one of the core laws.
This dude just say core lols? Have you ever considered respecting your parents? Lol!
Saying that sometimes you can't honor your mother and father. Sometimes you just have to honor yourself. And a lot of people will look at this and say, well, that's a reasonable concept. But the truth is that is actually a Luciferian concept. What?
Luciferian? The devil is the one saying take care of yourself? You need to be straight up a servant to your parents. That's what Jesus would do. Actually, did we ever even see in the Bible Jesus making his mom, Mary, a nice breakfast? I have a better argument. Okay, let's say my parents worship the devil. Let's say my parents are chanting around a copy of Turning Red. Should I just follow along? Like, it says to respect the parents, but my parents are doing something Satanly. Christian dad, what do I do? When I say check, you say mate. Check.
Mate.
Check.
Mate.
Christian dad, you're right. I will follow my parents into the fiery pits of hell.
Let me explain to you how Satanism...
He pulls a clip from an old video of his so he doesn't have to do the work again, which kind of sounds like what you were accusing Disney of doing. We're 4 minutes into the 16-minute video, and he's still just like on the first line, where the main character's like, yeah, I gotta honor myself. That really, like, upset him. Basically what this dude is saying is, teenagers scare the living shit out of me.
What she does is she actually decides that she's going to rebel against her parents and embrace this demon.
Buddy, you know what symbolism is? Let's break this down real quick. First of all, there's so much going on. He's completely disregarding other belief systems.
There's a circle of chalk being drawn, which anybody knows anything about the cult. The rise of the divine feminine, we talked about how that all occultism is somehow tied to a female spirit.
Could you imagine the tone shift in this movie if all of a sudden May is taken into the woods and instead of seeing like a female spirit there, it's just Jesus being like,
ew, you got your period? Gross!
Also, dude, can I just say, it's symbolism for puberty. She doesn't want to be ashamed of growing up, and the embarrassing red panda that comes with that. When we have to confine our storytelling to fit the ideal Christian storyline, all movies would look like this. Hey mom, I want to go out with my friends. I told you, no. Alright, I guess I'm not going. You see how boring that is? Maybe you as a Christian dad just isn't going to relate to a story about a young girl going through puberty.
But the female spirits and the occult and the...
It's not for you.
So I'm going to give you a couple reasons why Christians shouldn't watch the show. Number one...
This is about Squid Game, by the way.
Number one is the show opens up the door to demonic spirits. Now, before you say, Isaiah, don't be so dramatic. How could a show open up the door to demons?
Nah, I'm gonna say it. Isaiah, why are you being so dramatic? POV, I'm Squid Game.
Here I am, you opened the door for me.
Let's hear his proof of this actually happening.
Understand that I deal with these people. I deal with people all the time in deliverance that come because they watched a show, they watched a movie, and a demon came from them watching the movie. These movies instill fear.
His source was really trust me, bro. But listen, okay, listen. I know these things, because I'm the best religion boy. He's literally taking people with poor mental health, and he's just like, wow, you really opened the gate for demons. Dude, didn't I tell you, don't watch the Squid Game?
Please, have experience before you tell me, because you do not deal with these people. I do, and people absolutely, listen to what I'm going to say here, can get demons from watching horror movies.
Are they demons, or are they negative emotions and feelings? Did somebody start growing horns? Did somebody start speaking in tongues? Did they, Isaiah? Or are they just sad? Let's speed run through the other reasons why Christians shouldn't watch Squid Game. I'm gonna say you started off a bit strong. I don't know what's gonna top. It opens the door to demons.
Second spirit that this show functions in is the spirit of murder.
If somebody murders somebody else after watching Squid Game, they probably would have murdered, actually not probably, they definitely would have murdered that person without watching Squid Game too. I watched 1 or 2 episodes of Squid Game. I stopped because it was depressing, and that has nothing to do with like spirituality. It's just, oh, okay, I'm not in the mood to watch this. I haven't murdered anybody. Is that switch only turned on if you watch the whole series? I feel like this whole like brainwashing narrative that they're trying to spin is so harmful to actors, artists, anybody trying to be creative. Ugh, I feel gross now. Let's watch this one about Game of Thrones.
Some Christians argue it is just fine to watch certain TV programs that are downright debaucherous. Game of Thrones.
Why are there all these camera angles?
It's all the rage. It's entering into its final season. Boo and who. Many Christians defend.
Do not tell this guy about the spin-off series. He's gonna be raging so hard. Did you see that little choreograph moment too? Ooh, okay, theater kid.
Their viewing of a show that is filled with violence, and if that's not enough for you, all kinds of sexual escapades.
That's so funny that he views sexual escapades as higher than violence. Violence, killing people, and worse than that, sex. You know how all of us came to be? They want the population to die off. Finally, something we can agree on. Haha, dab, I'm just kidding.
Would you stand at someone's window and watch them have sex? Whoa, pretty shocking question, right? That probably took you by surprise. Yet it didn't bother you last night when you were watching Game of Thrones.
Yet it did bother you last night when I was doing your mom. And then the video just ends. And all these Christians are left with like,
what the fuck? I just want to know if I'm able to watch Game of Thrones or not.
If you can't decipher fiction from reality, then don't watch shows and movies, but don't make it our problem. That literally reminds me. So I went on this Game of Thrones tour, actually, despite having never watched the show.
Sorry, I'm just too Christian.
Now, actually, there was just too many damn characters, and I have a life. I was on this Game of Thrones tour with my family one time. The tour guide was talking about how the actor that played Joffrey dealt with the real-life harassment because people, like, couldn't just use their goddamn brains for 3 seconds and realize that he's different from the character and that he was playing a part.
Would you watch your son or daughter? Yet those persons in those scenes are someone's children.
Are you actually shitting me?
Would you watch your child doing the nasty?
Oh my god, wait, my boyfriend is somebody's son? Yucky! Get away from me! I found a list of shows that someone won't let their children watch. Avatar, Rugrats, Arthur, Little Pony Equestria Girls, Lazy Town? That show's just about exercising. Proud Family, oh, but specifically Louder and Prouder. Is it because the guy's gay? So there were some that clearly had references to magic or anything freaking creative. The ones that stuck out to me, I was like, Rugrats? Arthur? These are the most slice of life shows I could imagine. So I rushed to the comments and somebody was like, why Rugrats, Arthur, and why Lazy Town? So then the creator says, Arthur talks about looking into the future using a psychic. So just like one episode out of the, how many episodes are there? Like hundreds? Lazy Town for a demonic character. And people thought it was grooming going on. And then somebody said, how is Lazy Town a demonic character? And they never responded. The questions Jesus was asked back in the day was like, is murder wrong? And he was like, controversial opinion, but yeah, we don't stand that. We don't murder. God, should I cheat on my wife? Please, dear God. Please, dear me, no. You guys are gonna make his life so much harder. If he was down here nowadays, everyone would be like, God, can I watch Turning Red? Oh, you don't care? How about Game of Thrones? Oh, you don't care? How about Finding Nemo? You don't care? In conclusion, even though I tried to counter their talk points and I was just yapping away, it's not that deep. Have an amazing day, butt lovers. I hope I didn't anger you too much. And remember to not watch the unholy shows of Rugrats, Game of Thrones, Squid Game, Legends of the Hidden Temple. Bye!